The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you would like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out about the programming we have available for you 7/24/365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net, and for all the programming we have for you on the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, visit us on xzonetvchannel.com. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Dave Spinks, and Dave has been researching and investigating the paranormal since 1986 in various aspects due to several experiences he's had as a young man. He retired from over a 20-year career in the U.S. military and federal law enforcement in 2011. Since that time, he has investigated the paranormal on a full-time basis and has conducted several hundred investigations during his time researching the supernatural. Joining me now is Dave Spinks. And Dave, welcome back to the X Zone.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on again, man.
Hey, it's always a great pleasure having you on, my friend. And once again, as I always say to you when you're on, thank you for your service.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
All right, Dave, for the people who are joining us for the first time since we've been on Simul TV with you as a guest, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, as you said, I started investigating the paranormal as a young man due to this main experience I had, along with several other ones in a short time frame thereafter. The one that started it all for me was seeing a Bigfoot, here in West Virginia with my grandfather, that I swore, we kind of did a promise to each other that we'd never tell, because he was a preacher, and you can imagine what his flock would have thought if he would have came out and told what we experienced that day. So we kind of, over so many years, we never talked about it. And then he died a few years ago, and I've been on your show before talking about other things that started me off in the paranormal, and I never shared this one until recently. Actually wrote it in a good friend of mine's book. I wrote the experience in his Woodknock series, and it was picked up by a major television network. I told the story on TV, and just recently finally came out with my book on Bigfoot here in West Virginia, and I've taken many accounts from numerous people here in the state of West Virginia over the years, and I decided to put my experience and all their experiences and some theories and other neat things about Bigfoot into a book, and that's why we're here.
Let me ask you this, Dave. How does your former experience as a law enforcement officer help you as a paranormal investigator, and especially a Bigfoot investigator?
Well, you know as well as I do, Rob, doing what you did in your past, those investigative training, all the training you receive as an investigator and a law enforcement officer come into play in any type of scenario, whether it be your interview tactics, how you interview folks, your investigative skills. It comes into great play because, you're a trained observer after taking all those many, many hours of classes and instruction from instructors, and it plays in greatly because it lets you look at things in a different aspect than the normal person would.
So tell me, Dave, after the investigations that you've conducted on Bigfoot, as a professional witness, as a professional investigator, what can you tell us about Bigfoot? What is it that you have been able to assess based on your own investigation?
Well, the funny thing is we're no closer than we were when these reports came out, way back in the 1800s, since recorded man, since modern times. Now, Native Americans have recorded such creatures in their cave art drawings and passed the stories down, because they have no written history.
Right.
Their history is passed down generation to generation. But these accounts have gone on for literally thousands of years. Now, in modern times, of course, everyone knows we don't have a body that we know of that can be studied. But you have to take into hard account all the thousands and thousands of eyewitness accounts from credible people such as law enforcement officers, doctors, lawyers, people that would really have something to lose by sharing their stories. And I personally believe there are thousands more of accounts that are never told because people don't want to be ridiculed and don't want to be, put under a microscope and so on and so forth. Just me personally, I have hundreds and hundreds of accounts just from West Virginia alone and some other ones abroad in other states. But I'm only one reporting site. So imagine all the other reporting sites, all their hundreds and hundreds and thousands of accounts, not to mention the ones that are never told. There's something to it. There's something going on, but we just don't know quite what it is yet, what this creature is. There's many theories out there that it's some type of interdimensional being, it's some type of alien, some type of elemental. We just don't know until if we ever have a body, then we will know more. But, that's just how it is now at this point.
What is your theory?
I know what I saw was a living and breathing creature. Whether it came from another dimension, whether it's some kind of ET, I don't know. I don't know. I know the thing was really pissed off. It threw big giant rocks at me and my grandpa from the other side of the river that made splashes. It was raking trees back and forth, yelling and screaming this god awful noise. Like, you could never you can't even explain it. It's so guttural and so loud. It goes right through you when you hear one of these things. But as far as being some type of missing link between man and ape or ET or whatever the case, I have no idea, man. Nobody does. It's just all theory at this point.
Have you gone back to that place where you saw your first sighting and done an investigation there?
Yeah, I have in recent years. I have to tell you, though, for several years, I grew up in the woods here in West Virginia, hunting and fishing my whole life. I've seen bear, I've seen everything these woods have to offer. And it shook me to my core, Rob. I couldn't go back into the woods for several years. And then when I did finally start going in, I would only go in just a short ways, not into the deep woods like I used to with my family and my cousins hunting. But it took me several years, and even to this day, I do not go in the woods without a heavy caliber firearm on my back or on my hip. Not to say that this thing would even phase this thing. I don't know.
Well, are there reports that you're aware of where Bigfoot has been a danger to a human?
Yeah, in the past, there's stories of people being drug off from Bigfoot. The Paiute natives out west talk of a race of redheaded giants, similar to Bigfoot, that would raid their camps and take people and put them in these baskets they carried on their backs with spikes that were reversed so that people couldn't crawl out, and they would take them back to their caves and eat them. There's other accounts of there's a really early account of a man who was taken by a Bigfoot, and he was knocked unconscious, and when he came to, he was there with a family of Bigfoots who were just sitting there watching him, and he made his escape he took a chew of tobacco, and the big male Bigfoot in this account was very curious as to what he was eating, so he offered some to this Bigfoot, and he supposedly took a big chaw of this tobacco and, of course, started gagging and puking and carrying on, and that's how this guy made his escape. And that was a very early on account. Like late 1700s, 1800s time frame, if I recall correctly.
When was the last time you yourself have had a Bigfoot encounter?
I've only had the one. Well, the sighting. I had the one in 1983 as a 13-year-old boy, but I have, traversed the mountains and deep valleys and stuff of West Virginia, and I've got what I think are some callbacks and some knocks and whatnot that I can't explain, but I had no other further sightings of a creature. So, and that's been up to as recent as last summer.
Now, these knocks, is that how the Bigfoot is believed to communicate?
Yeah, that's one of the theories, that they use wood knocks. They grab big pieces of wood and they knock on trees to communicate with each other. Different series of knocks. They also do what they call rock clacking, where they smack rocks together. Other witnesses have reported hearing them talking like a gibberish, like a jibber jabber that is like broken English of some sort. I've never experienced that, but there's many accounts of that out there as well. All
right, Dave, stand by, buddy. You and I have to take our first commercial break. X-Zone Nation, David Spinks is our special guest this hour. His website is Dave Spinks, Paranormal Investigator.com, and he is an investigator of ghosts, unknown cryptids, UFOs, and much more. And Dave and I will return on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Dave Spinks is our special guest this hour. Exonation. His website is Dave Spinks, paranormalinvestigator.com. Dave, in your travels throughout the woods, subsequent to seeing Bigfoot going back when you were 13 years old, have you discovered a Bigfoot nest or any area that Bigfoot could have, established a home for a while? And there's an interesting question. Does Bigfoot remain in an area, or is Bigfoot a wanderer?
That's a good question. I personally think, this is, merely my opinion, but I think they're nomadic and they move with the seasons to some extent to, forage for food. And I have come across some strange things in the woods that don't make any sense. There's some places here in West Virginia that are so rural and so remote and so inhospitable to humans that there's literally probably not been anyone in that area for 100 years or if ever, because it's just so remote. And trekking through these locations, I've come across weird nest creations, trees that are bent over and almost like X formations, if that makes sense, and trees that have been snapped over, green trees, not some tree that would have been broken by a storm or anything, but green trees snapped over at a height at 8 to 10 feet high or even higher in some instances. Now, one could say maybe a bear had climbed up there and it snapped. Yeah, that's all plausible. But I've also, like I said, come across some weird nest-like creations out of grass and twigs that just don't make sense. A human wouldn't have done that necessarily. So along with finding trackways around those areas. So, here in West Virginia, there are plenty of places for a creature such as Bigfoot to reside in. There's the whole state's littered with cave systems, plenty of cover and plenty of food for a creature such as Bigfoot.
How do you think Bigfoot has eluded humans for so long?
Well, that's kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because has he? With all the thousands of reports, of people seeing him, regardless of not having a body. I mean, there's several stories out there, numerous stories of people who have claimed to have shot a Bigfoot. Yeah. However, there is no body to ever be found.
But what I'm saying, Dave, is there's a lot of stories out there. I agree with you 100%. But when it comes to that smoking gun photo or the body of a Bigfoot or any physical evidence of his existence, it doesn't exist.
Exactly, it doesn't. And however, there are those of the thought that this being some type of elemental creature, some type of ET or interdimensional creature. People have reported seeing one walking in the woods. They're following the tracks. The thing goes behind a tree and they catch up to where they thought they last saw it, and there's no more tracks and the thing just up and disappeared. There's numerous stories like that as well. I don't know, man, as far as this, the things are nocturnal in nature, it would seem, because a lot of the sightings are reported at nighttime. My personal one was just before dark, like a half an hour before dark. Numerous people, hundreds and hundreds of people report one running across the road. So if they're a nocturnal creature, and they're primarily, they're obviously highly intelligent, and they're primarily in rural areas, wooded areas where there's less people, then common sense would tell you most people don't go in the woods at night. Hardly anyone does. So,
and yet you've got all these Bigfoot researchers and investigators who go to the woods at night, and they don't seem to have very much luck either.
No, they don't. I mean, it is what it is right now. There's something to it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'll give it to you honest. I don't have any answers as to what this thing is for sure. I just know what I saw. I know what I've seen in the woods. Yeah. But until there's bodies, out there, who knows? There's also, when Mount St. Helens erupted, there was numerous eyewitness reports of military helicopters coming in, and numerous eyewitnesses reported seeing Bigfoot bodies being carried out of the woods after the volcano erupted by military helicopters. Is there some kind of weird cover-up? Are these Bigfoot creatures some kind of military experiment gone bad? I don't know. It fascinates me.
Well, we really can't say that it's a military experience gone bad, since the military wasn't involved in the sightings of the First Nations going way back when.
No, you're right. Yeah, but what is this? If there's eyewitness reports of military helicopters coming in, but do they know about these creatures?
Yeah, but Dave,
if you take it to heart, yeah, you have to believe that.
You know as well as I do that many people, when it comes to the paranormal, say that they've had first-hand experience, and when push comes to shove, the truth comes out that they made it up.
You're right.
Let's talk about ghosts, hauntings, things that go bump in the night. Where did your fascination and interest come from this? Did you have your own ghost experience?
Yeah, I did. Just a few years after this Bigfoot thing, my other grandpa, who was a military veteran as well, World War II vet, had a quarter of one lung left, had a trach, and carried an oxygen tank around so he could breathe, and still smoked Camel non-filters through his hole in his throat.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't care, and we knew it was just a matter of time, where he wasn't going to be with us much longer. Well, 1985, I'm at my dad's house 30 miles away, wake up in the middle of the night, and there's my grandpa, who's my mom's dad, standing at the foot of the bed. And I'm like, what are you doing here, Grandpa? Because there's no reason he should have been there at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And he just smiled, didn't say a word, and he looked really good. He didn't look sickly, and then he just disappeared in front of my face, and I chalked it up as a weird dream, right? So about 6 months, or actually the next day, I was worried about him after that dream I had, and I called up to my grandma's house to check on him, and my uncle from out of state answered the phone, and I said, what are you doing there? And he said, no one called you yet, Dave? I said, no, what are you talking about? He said, well, your grandpa died last night. We're coming in for the funeral. And I'm like, oh my God, and I was like, I didn't say anything about this dream I had. 6 months later, roughly, we were at grandma's all eating dinner, and I came out and told everybody about this weird dream I had the night grandpa died, and several of the family members' faces went funny, and they all reported having the same dream that night. So it was as if to us, he came to say goodbye to before wherever he was going. So, having that Bigfoot encounter and this encounter with my other grandfather, I kind of became fascinated. I wanted to know answers as to what the heck was going on with some of this stuff. And I just started doing research and everything, and coming across many other people that have had these strange encounters and these, reported seeing things such as I did. And it became a hobby gone mad, if you will. And I've been pursuing it ever since.
Has there been any research done as to the commonality of those who have these experiences with apparitions, ghosts, compared to those who don't?
Yeah, I think there's been some study into some of this. There has been proven things to show that people that live, one example would be people that live near high tension power lines, where there's really high EMF being put out by these power lines, which it's been proven that these things can cause hallucinations. Mm-hmm. They can cause all kinds of different problems with your brain and whatnot, cause cancer, the whole 9 yards. Now, me personally, I've never lived under any high tension wires or anything like that. So, if you're researching and investigating these type of things, you have to take all that stuff into account, and really step outside and, think outside the box a little bit and say, and you have to look and see if there's some kind of other external cause that could be causing folks to have these kind of experiences.
Well, when you go out to do a paranormal investigation, how do you assess whether the investigation is actually worthwhile doing, or if in fact the phenomena is being caused by the person who's called you in to do the investigation itself?
Well, the first thing they usually come to me with either an email or a phone call and say, Dave, hey, I've had this going on, you know, I've seen this or experienced this, whatever the case may be. Well, I kind of put them through the ringer on a questionnaire that I have, you know, and I ask them the same questions numerous times in different ways. You know, that's an old law enforcement trick to see if you can trick them up into, if you catch them lying, basically.
Right.
Then, you know, I always ask them, well, do you have any evidence? Do you have any recording? Do you have any pictures? What do you got for me? And, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And, you know, after putting them through the process that I use, if I think it's legit, then I'll go out and check it out when I have the time and the availability.
Sure.
And, you know, usually within the first half an hour, you can, you know, just by interviewing people and talking to them over the years, you can usually, you know, you develop that kind of sixth sense, if you will, to decipher if they're telling you the truth or not. You know, you can read their body language, you can look in their eyes. Now, some people are a little bit different because some people are on medications that they really believe they saw something, and sometimes they haven't, you know. So that's part of the questionnaire, too. Are you on any psychotropic medications, you know? That doesn't totally discount it for me, but that can, you know, that can end an investigation pretty quick.
Or I guess another question these days could be, do you hold any positions with either of the Democrat or Republican Party? And away we go. Hey, listen, Dave, you and I have to go take our next break with the news at the bottom of the hour. X-Zone Dave Spinks is my very special guest. www.davespinks Paranormal Investigations. Oops. Let me try that again. Dave Spinks Paranormal Investigator.com. And Dave and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God.
It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
All right, let me give you the website one more time since I kind of blundered it last time. www.DaveSpinks, ParanormalInvestigator.com. And Dave, welcome back to the X Zone. And I understand that you purchased a haunted house.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, the house is called, oddly enough, Willows Weep. I believe they got its name because it has a very large weeping willow tree in the front yard. Mm-hmm. I investigated this house starting back in 2013. Investigated it 3 different times, had some strange experiences. And the house itself, Rob, is just bizarre in nature. It's built in the shape of a cross for all intents and purposes, which I've never seen anything like it.
Are you sure it was never a church?
Not in any of the records I could find on it. Now, one would believe maybe that would be the case, but come to find out, the original builder he was either a postman or a postmaster. Can't decipher if it's one or the other. But obviously he was into some strange stuff. And in every corner of that house, like if you picture a cross in your mind,
yes, every
corner of the cross, there's a window. And at one time there were 6 entrances and 6 exits to this building, to this house. And there it was built in the 1800s, and numerous bizarre deaths and strange things have happened in this house over the years. I've got a lot of documented deaths, suicides, and some other bizarre stuff. But I've in my investigations personally, I've captured many disembodied voices, many EVPs, seen strange shadow play in the house, heard things talk in my ear. And it's not a well-known location, but numerous other investigative teams have investigated this place over the years, and they had, posted some of their evidence on YouTube and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I became friends with the owner, long story short, and her husband had gone to work on the house a few times, and one of the last times he worked on the house, he was in great shape and everything. The guy had a stroke. Okay, chalk it up as okay. He had a stroke. He got over that, made it through that. Still had some problems and whatnot, and he went back to the house several months later to do some work because no one could live in this thing because she bought it for her son and so much paranormal activity they couldn't live in it. So that's how it became open to investigators. Long story short, so he went back 6-7 months later, whatever the case was, and then he had a heart attack. And every time he would get near that house, it would affect his health in a very serious manner, and he had to quit. They actually moved away. They lived right next door to it and moved away from it to get him away from this house. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The last man that lived in the house, he shot himself in the little bathroom. It didn't kill him. He shot himself in the head. He stumbled around, blood spewing everywhere. Came to rest in his favorite chair where he bled out and died, and they found him 2 days later.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he actually, the chair is still in the house with his blood on it. Some of his personal items are in the house, his boots, his hat, his fishing poles, stuff like that. Well, when Brenda, the prior owner, bought this house for her son, she was trying to help her son get started and get a house. It was a really good deal, and Curtis's son, the last man who died in the house, brought her, showed her the house, opened it up, but he wouldn't go in. She thought that was really strange. And she looked around and everything, had her son in there with her, and a pole, A metal pole that was across the room flew and smashed her son right in the head, splitting his head open. Now, I had her show me the distance, and it was a good 8 to 10 feet. This pole was not that big. It couldn't have fell and hit him from that distance. So she said that was the first experience they had in the house. Well, they chalked it up, as most people would, as a weird coincidence or whatever, and they ended up buying the house.
Right.
And when they came out of the house, she said, "Why won't you go in there?" And he said, "Well, because my dad committed suicide in there, and I can't bear to go in there to see his chair and all that." And they just left it as it was. Well, as they were renovating this house, it had a new laminate floor over top of the original 1800s wood floor, and they had to get it out of there because it had gotten moisture and it was hooved up. So they started tearing that floor up. Well, over in the corner of the room, under the new floor, between the new floor and the old floor, they found a weird book called "Is There a Real Spirit World?" buried between the floorboards, and it has an upside down pentagram on the front. And it's put out by the Church of God. Now, I don't know personally no Church of God that puts out a book that talks about necromancy and how to summon demons, because this book does. And I did some research on the book, and it was put out by this supposed Church of God that looks more like a cult to me. And the guys that are involved in this are still active today, but it's some really bizarre and weird stuff, if you take a look at it.
Sure.
So, long story short, she wanted, after becoming friends with her, she wanted me or one other person that she would sell the house to, and other person couldn't do it. So I did it. And cause she said, it's too dark of a place, and I know you know how to protect yourself and do what you got to do. And that's how I ended up coming to own it.
Why would you want it?
Well, doing what I do, Rob, I get that question a lot. And the reason I did that is because basically I now have my own paranormal lab to try to study these phenomena. I've got hundreds of hours of video from her cameras that she placed in the place, her security cameras, of balls moving on their own, different objects rolling around on the floor, changing direction, light anomalies that I can't explain, all kinds of stuff. So basically I said, what a great place to have to wire up and really try to study the phenomena, unexplained phenomena, and see if we can find some answers to it, whether we can find if it's natural causes of some sort or it's unexplained nature causes doing this, There's a ton of Native American influence in that area. People all around, the neighbors find arrowheads when they dig their gardens. There's another weird, interesting fact about this house is underneath the crawl space, directly in the center of what would be the cross upstairs, there's a weird pit dug with ashes in it, surrounded by granite rocks, like a fire pit, some kind of ceremonial pit. There's also been a child's arm bone found buried under the house in these weird mounds of dirt. Numerous people have been attacked there by unseen things, including a maintenance man who still works for me today, taking care of the house, who won't go in the house, but he'll take care of the yard and stuff for me. He's had several strange things happen to him. He was attempting to cut the willow tree because the branches hang to the ground. And this is before I owned it. This is when Brenda owned it. He was trying to trim it, and he was on his riding lawnmower. He trimmed a few branches, got on his riding lawnmower, and he was thrown off the mower several feet and landed on his back on the front porch, breaking his back. And he's the one that found the child's arm bone under the house while checking the pipes for Brenda. He pushed away a mound of dirt and a bone popped out, and when he grabbed it to look at it, he said something attacked him in a sexual, physical nature under the house, and he crawled out of there as fast as he could with this bone in his hand and gave it to Brenda and said, "I'm never going back under the house again." And she took it to the doctor. The doctor said it's definitely a child's arm bone, but it's pretty old. We don't know, how old it is, but it looks pretty old.
Did she take it to the police?
No.
Why not?
No, I don't know. They said they put it back under the house, and I haven't done any more. I'm going to be doing some excavations there later this year or early next year, and take some ground penetrating radar in and see. Maybe it's built on top of an old Indian graveyard or something.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Here's something I don't understand, Dave. You're an ex-cop. You're an ex-law enforcement officer. You find a body part, or you know that based on evidence that a body part is buried there.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what you do.
That's a matter of law enforcement.
Yes, it is.
Have you
if it's determined to be old, then they'll bring in the archaeologists.
Right. But that's up to them to make that determination.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen when I owned it, so.
But you're aware. But you're aware that based on firsthand evidence, or that there is an alleged bone of a child buried there.
Yep. And get this. What's even more interesting is I don't have any factual information on this, but Brenda talked to one of the old neighbors next door, and he is now deceased, but she told her that back in the 40s or 50s, this woman had moved in with her older son and a young girl. Well, the young girl, after a while, came up missing. Nobody knew what happened to her. And then several months later, the son hung himself in the house. And now, did the mom kill the girl or the son kill the little girl? Is that her body buried under the house? I don't know. There's more stuff I got to do there. Yeah, but I haven't been back there for a while yet to further pursue it. So that's coming very soon.
All right, stand by, Dave. We've got to take our final break. X-Zone Nation, Dave Spinks is our guest this hour. www.DaveSpinksParanormalInvestigator.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. You're listening to us on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, and watching us on I'm on the X-Zone. Oh boy, the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. It's been a long weekend, and it looks like it's going to be even a longer week. You can always check us out online at www.xzbn.net or simultv.com. And don't forget, the X Chronicles newspaper is still available for one and all with our compliments at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Dave Spinks and I return as we wrap up this hour. On the other side of this break, don't go away.
Watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell. by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Dave Spinks is our guest, and Dave, you're talking about the house that you bought. Do you live there presently?
Absolutely not. The house is in Indiana, and I live in West Virginia. So,
I see.
Like I said, Rob, all that's just a story to me until I find proof and evidence of it myself, and then I'll do what has to be done.
Yeah, but have you contacted the local law enforcement to see if there's been any such missing children that might fit the story that you've been told?
They said they did that with the doctor when they first took it in, and being that I don't know why they didn't pursue it further, but they just told them to put it back, which made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So I don't know if the local law enforcement just didn't want to deal with it or what, because they went by what the doctor said, that it looked like a really old bone. So I don't know,
Something doesn't make sense there, Dave.
No.
Something just doesn't make sense, because if this doctor went to local law enforcement and said it was definitely a child's bone and law enforcement didn't do anything, there's that is inexcusable. My question is, did the doctor really go to law enforcement, number one? Number two, was there really a bone found?
Don't know. I'm just going off hearsay, man.
But as a law enforcement officer, didn't you investigate claims of hearsay in that matter? That magnitude?
But, I haven't, like I said, I bought the place, but I haven't really done much in it yet, and it's very hard to get to that under the house because I can barely fit under there. Mm-hmm. So, if I find something, then you better believe I'm going to be calling the state police. So, there's nothing that I can do right at this moment. I can call people. What are they going to do? But let's think I'm some kind of nut or something. I don't know, but I guess I have to have proof of it before they'll come out and see it. So
you listen into what's happening today. If people are getting it on, law enforcement are getting calls, they're going to places and actually finding crimes that have been committed. So, anyway, I just find it strange, you being an ex-law enforcement guy, just kind of saying, well, when I get there, I'll look for stuff, and if it's there, it's there.
Well, that's what I've been told by them. This happened years ago, supposedly. So, but I don't know.
But as far as I know, there's no statute of limitation on murder.
No, there's not.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
happened in the 40s or 50s or even earlier. Those people are long since dead. So we'll have to see if I can find proof of a bone, then we'll go the next route, I guess.
So what are you going to be doing with this house?
Like I said, I'm going to be turning it into a paranormal laboratory, so to speak, to try to document paranormal evidence.
So are you going to get other teams to go in and investigate as well?
Yeah, there's been other teams in there, like I said, years ago, for years off and on, and I've let a few in here and there to do their thing, and they've captured some pretty eye-opening things. So we'll just continue.
What have they captured, Dave?
Well, many have reported similar things to that I've experienced. Disembodied voices. They've captured EVPs answering their questions. They've seen light anomalies. They've seen shadow figures in the house. They've captured different entities on the structured light sensor cameras, and just pretty much the whole plethora. There's been photographs taken of looks like an older woman in the house who I have a picture of an older woman that died in the house, and it looks very, very similar to her in nature. Just a whole bunch of different things, Rob.
Why do you think, Dave, that some spirits stay on this side and other spirits go to wherever spirits go?
That's a good question. One of the theories is that maybe they have unfinished business. Some don't know they're dead and they're still there for whatever reason. There's many different, all this stuff is theory. I mean, no one knows the answers. That's why we all do what we do. We're looking for answers, maybe the one small piece of the puzzle. Whether we find it or not, who knows? That's why we do what we do.
What kind of equipment do you use in an investigation?
I use a variety of different things, and there's new stuff coming out, all the time. I use thermal cameras, infrared cameras, can see in the dark that the human eye cannot see. We use full spectrum cameras that see in all the aspects of light the human eye cannot see. And those are often pretty cool to, they will capture things that you can't see with your naked eye, but they show up on camera. We also use many different types of EMF sensors, because one of the theories is that when a spirit manifests, that they actually manipulate the electromagnetic field in an area. It'll cause spikes in the EMF field, or they also, are said to be able to drain batteries of their power to gain more energy. We use different ghost boxes. We use digital recorders, tape recorders, just anything. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. We use old school tricks too. Maybe you take some baby powder and sprinkle it on the floor and see if anything disturbs that baby powder. There's been people that have captured footprints in this baby powder, that's unexplained. There's just a whole bunch of different things. I like to use a compass too to see if the magnetic field fluctuates when other devices are going off. Sometimes you'll get a compass that'll spin in a haywire fashion, just spin around in circles or do different things when you're capturing different types of activity, manifesting and whatnot.
How would something that has no weight, has no mass, has no appearance cause a footprint in baby powder?
That's a good question. There's usually, they classify hauntings in two different types, basically. An intelligent haunting and a residual haunting. An intelligent haunting would be something that you can actually interact with or have it, you ask it to do something and it'll do something. Or a residual would be it plays over and over like a record player. It does the same thing every time at the same time every day, or once a year, or whatever the case may be. We're no closer to finding right now, even with all the fancy gadgets and gizmos. We can document a little bit more, but we're no closer to any answers as to what causes these things, or what's stemming from them, what's causing these things to happen. Is it a spirit? Is it a demon? Is it an angel? We don't know.
So why do you think the paranormal is so popular these days?
Well, because it's the unknown, and people are fascinated by the unknown. And like I always say, it's some of man's greatest questions. What happens to us when we die? Are we alone in the universe, and are there unknown creatures walking among us? Those are some of man's greatest questions that haven't been really answered yet. Unless you're a faith-based person, then for you, all the answers are faith-based, and you have your answers. So if you're an open-minded person and you like to believe that there's just things out there we don't understand, then I think that's a reason why the paranormal in general terminology is so popular, because number one, it's scary. Number two, It's some of man's greatest questions, and people are fascinated by that stuff.
But if you look at the length of time that the paranormal has been investigated, let's say even from the mid-'70s to now, and there's next to nothing that has been discovered, why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. It's kind of like you got to kind of fall back on the faith-based people. For them, they will tell you, well, we're not supposed to know the answers to these questions, And for someone like me, I'm on my own path. I'm seeking my own answers. Not to say I don't believe in God and a higher power. I do, actually. But I think there's other things out there that we don't quite understand. And it fascinates me to the point that I pursue and do what I do now. It's a hobby gone mad, if you will. That makes sense to you.
A hobby gone mad. Huh. I understand that a lot of paranormal people kind of get caught up in it, and they become obsessed with it.
Yeah. Well, over so many years of doing this, I have so many different experiences that have blown my mind, and I just try to share them with people, and I try to help people that are experiencing unexplained phenomena in their homes or in their businesses or whatever the case may be. That's some of the reasons I do what I do. So,
all right, David, the time has come when you and I must say so long until the next time, bud. So you take care of yourself. Happy haunting instead of hunting. Little play on words there. And Exonation, if you'd like to contact Dave, his website is Dave Spink, paranormalinvestigator.com. That's www.davespink.paranormalinvestigator.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue. Thank you, Craig, for scaring the living daylights out of me. I wasn't expecting it to be that loud. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Are you a skeptic or are you a believer? Well, my flags went up a few times when I was talking to Dave. The fact that if somebody tells me a body is buried somewhere and if I don't do anything about it, something is wrong somewhere. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, the place where new reality radio lives. We'll be back on the other side. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.